Ave Maria. Today I'm going to share with you a secret which you might or might not know. I'm going to tell you about your worst enemy. But before we do that, I'll first share with you why we are on earth. Why are you on earth? Why am I on earth? So the answer to this question must be seen from the angle of God, not man. Because when you look from the angle of man, you might say, I'm on earth maybe to make a good family, maybe to make a good career, something like that. But from the angle of God, you are on earth so that you can inherit eternal life. That's the main reason. Now, that means that everything that you do on earth must be helping you to attain this goal. That is your main priority on earth. If whatever you're doing is not helping you to attain eternal life, then you would rather stop doing it. So whatever you do, first think, is this going to help me to get eternal life? Whether it's a job, whether it's getting money, if it's not helping you to attain eternal life, stop doing it. And you can attain eternal life through three things. Number one is the grace of God. Number two is love, which fulfills all the commandments. And number three is faith. Now back to our original post. The number one enemy, your number one enemy, your worst enemy is what we call a mortal sin. Now what is a mortal sin? We all know that sin is an offense against God or our fellow man. So in the Catholic Church, we have what we call mortal sins and venial sins. Now, a mortal sin requires three characteristics. Number one, there must be grave matter. And grave matter, basically, I'll give you an example. Whatever is against the 10 Commandments is grave matter. Number two, there must be deliberate consent. It means that you commit this sin without coercion. You do it willingly. Number three is that you do it with deliberate knowledge. So you know that what you're doing is wrong, but you go ahead and do it. So when all these three come together, it becomes a mortal sin. If one of them is lacking, it is a venial sin. So why is a mortal sin your worst enemy? There are two main reasons. Number one is that it will make you lose eternal life, which is your main priority in this life. And number two, you will never have peace of mind in this life. So you suffer both in this life and in the next. So you need to meditate upon this and see what kind of sins you might have committed, mortal sins that are making you lose peace of mind. Now, a mortal sin destroys grace in your life. It destroys sanctifying grace. That means when you commit a mortal sin, you totally cut off your relationship with God. It is non-existent. And so your mind is empty and you're prone to attacks from the demons. That is what they call a mortal sin. Now, there are so many mortal sins out there, the Catholic Church teaches, as I've explained, but I want us to focus on what the Church calls 4 sins that cry out to heaven for vengeance. Now, when you commit these sins, not only are you in danger of going to hell, but you cannot have peace of mind because these sins cry out to heaven, and in the end, you suffer in this life. Number one, we have what we call willful murder. When you commit murder knowingly, you have committed one of these 4 sins. Now, most of you will think, well, I've never killed anybody, but remember, abortion is one way you can willfully kill somebody. And if you're a man, you might think, I've never committed an abortion, but remember, when you make someone to commit an abortion, maybe you command them to do it, or you give them advice, or you give them assistance, you have also participated in that murder. The other way which you might not know that you have participated in is mob justice. When you decide to murder somebody because maybe they stole a smartphone, you participate in murder, and therefore you will not have peace. Sin number 2 is what they call homosexuality. I will not talk so much about this, everyone knows it. Number 3 is defrauding a worker of his just wages. Now this is normally what happens to people who have maids or casual laborers. You think because they do not have so much of rights and maybe power, you don't pay them their wages. But when you do this, you have committed one of the 4 sins that cry out to heaven for vengeance. And the last one is oppression of the poor. Now, what can you do if you do an examination of conscience and you find maybe you've committed one of these sins? The grace of God, the mercy of God is always available if you go for confession. So you need to think, the next time you go for confession, you have to think if you've committed one of these sins and you confess them. Now, how can you overcome mortal sin? I'll read for you a list. Number 1 is returning to the sacraments and receiving them worthily. Sacraments are the main source of sanctifying grace. So if you're not receiving the sacraments, you're not getting sanctifying grace. Number 2 is regular examination of conscience, so that by the time you go to confession, you know what you're going to confess. Number 3 is a strong devotion to Our Lady. Number 4 is the devotion to Saint Joseph, who is called the Tira of Demons. Number 5 is thinking about the last 4 things, and the last 4 things are death, judgment, heaven, and hell. Next is praying the rosary every day, which helps so much. Is also wearing the brown scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. I'll do a video on this some other time. Then you need to follow authentic Catholic Church teaching. You need to attend Mass with devotion, and you must have a hatred of mortal sin. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.